I'm, on my Emirates NBA Cup sponsorship here for the background for those who aren't on YouTube. So yeah, let's talk about. I mean, we got to talk about what happened at the end of the game. I'm sure you guys have seen it. Steve Kerr went off. He was like basically saying our guys worked so hard and had it taken away. Talked about a foul being called 80 feet from the basket, which hey, they kind of fouled him, but they also kind of fouled Gary Payton. We'll talk about the missed timeout opportunity they had there. So with that, if you're the ref, and I shouldn't mention Kerr said it was an elementary ref wouldn't make that call. But if you were the ref, would you have made that call knowing that those free throws are basically deciding the game?
I mean, when you take in the context of the game too, and especially that second
Mhm.
half where it was a really physical game, right? Refs were really letting them play, and I thought it was. I really enjoyed the physicality of it, and I just think in an
Mhm.
environment like that, you can't make that call at that point of the game,
Mhm.
right? I mean, you set a tone of like how the second half will go. Their bodies were everywhere. I don't think you can make that call in that point. I understand Steve Kerr's frustration 100% in that situation.
Yeah, I pretty much agree. I'm not like, you know, screaming from the rooftops that like, "Oh my god, how do you make that call?" Like he kind of fouled him, right? Like he
Mhm.
reached over his arm. It's just in the context of the play, and as you noted, like they were really letting him go out there and take a lot of contact, a lot of like hard screens, moving screens were kind of let go. So they were calling the game pretty loose from a foul perspective. So I'm not like up furious with it. But yeah, tough way to lose for sure. I did want to kind of recap what kind of led up to that. I think the other thing was Steph Curry, bombing away from three early when he had a good look. If he runs that clock all the way down and he lets it go, like there's a half second left, maybe if if it goes off the rim and bounces up, they've got nothing. The game's almost kind of over. So there's that. You've got, as I mentioned, if Gary Payton called timeout when he got the ball instead of trying to pass it out, like that would have probably saved them. Pods made a really bad mistake going under the three on a Cold Van Vliet that game. The freaking 24-second violations that they had, two 24-second violations in the final couple minutes. A stat I saw from like Opta Stats, they said they're the first team to lose and had that happen in like 30 years. It's like egregious to do that. They had 8 24-second violations the whole game. Like that was happening all the time. So the Warriors, despite how like they could cry about this loss, honestly, they played really bad and made a lot of big mistakes late. So, anything else that you noticed there besides the Warriors, and then also credit to Houston, of course, with really locking in defensively. But anything you want to add on like all the Warriors' mistakes, especially late?
Absolutely, and that's the thing is that the call will be, what's talked about the most, and for good reason. That's how it ended. But like you're saying, it all the Warriors had a chance to put this away at
Hmm.
the end, right? I believe Houston ended on a 7-0 run, and that was
Hmm.
a lot of mistakes coming from the Warriors side too. So while yes, we can give them sympathy for what they perceive to be a soft call, whatever, but then you got to finish that game. I mean,
Hmm.
especially at the end there where Gary Payton's got it, and I understand he's not the one who wants to take the free throws, but you can't just hot potato it like that and like
Hmm.
kind of cross court. So that was strange. And yeah, I would just say while yes, like I said, the calls will get the mistakes that Golden State made, especially in that last minute, I think are really what was their downfall because they really after that first half and you were talking about the 24-second violation that they were having trouble getting shots up and they really
Hmm.
they put it together in the second half and they just needed to finish it strong and like you said they just mistake after mistake and they couldn't do it.
Yeah, I mean Houston's offense was really gross, 6 of 27 from three. It was a
Mhm.
rock fight. Both these Western Conference teams are first and second in defense. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But yeah, anything else jump out at you? Like I thought Dylan Brooks played pretty good defense. I thought Shingun came up pretty big down the stretch. He was kind of struggling at times early, but got some really key baskets down late. Jalen Green was awful, as we knew that was going to happen. We talked about that really all day. Amen Thompson's defense was so good again. A couple big blocks. Jabari hit some big shots. Talked about that Fred Van Vliet big three late. Anybody on the Houston side that you want to kind of call out? And I got to shout myself out because I spent all day talking about how Aaron Holiday was going to play and make an impact, and he did. Hey, +3, and you win by one. Hey, Aaron, maybe who's to say if Aaron Holiday decided the game? But yeah, anybody you wanted to shout out on Houston that kind of put him over the top?
I would just say it's Shengun because,
Hmm.
well, we really got to see like the how we perceive the Rockets. Were just an incredible defense like throughout the game, but man, they just struggled to get good shots when they needed. But
Hmm.
Shengun was great for them. Him and Draymond were really going at it down low the entire game, and rest were kind of let him go at it. But yeah, shout out to him. When they were struggling to create a lot of offense, he was that engine for him and. Fred VanVleet and Jalen Green didn't really have it either, so there was even more emphasis on him. But as far as the defensive end, though, the entire team was just everywhere. I mean, it was really cool to see.
Yeah, big Tari Eason corner three. That was kind of a really
Hmm.
important moment of the game too. But going to the Warriors side, just to hit them really quick, they're done. But I just want to, we're the Kuminga Sharks out here. We got to talk about Jonathan Kuminga. I thought he played really well in this game. I thought they need to give him the ball more. They were really pressuring Steph. Buddy Hield's not a great handler. He was really, their second best player, like maybe first. Like Steph wasn't that great considering Steph had the egregious mistake at the end. So yeah, and then I thought Potts had a pretty good game besides that mistake of him, going under on Van Vliet. Like, what are we doing? Especially in the game situation. But yeah, anybody else on the Warriors you want to either blame? Draymond, 5 turnovers. He was great defensively, was really good on Şengün and made him work. Like his defense was incredible. But anybody you want to shout out Kuminga? Is Kuminga? We talked about this on the hike yesterday. Is Kuminga alive now? Just to hit that before we hit the other game. But anything Warriors you want to mention here?
Yeah, I mean, Kuminga has definitely been one of the more polarizing players
Mm-hmm.
inside Team ETR. But look, you're seeing, especially this past week, while Kerr's really been spotlighting him, he led the team in minutes. He scored the most for them. Is they need that rim pressure he brings,
Mm-hmm.
I think. And he had some struggles yesterday just with that Houston. I mean, they were just coming at him,
Mm-hmm.
but credit to him, he kept going at him, going at him. He hit a big three at the end too. Kuminga was great. Kuminga was
Mm-hmm.
great. And it just wasn't enough, unfortunately, just because that offense. I mean, they needed more in pods, like you're saying. He had some big shots in the second half too, some good
Mm-hmm.
defense. So, I think Warriors did enough. They just needed to close it out. That was all.
Yeah, with you, obviously the 2 of 6 free throws hurt. And then we got to mention Steve Kerr, middle of the second quarter when they're really struggling for offense. They freaking go to Pat Spencer, and it looked like Trace Jackson Davis was out, but Trace Jackson Davis really cutting to Kevon Looney. They're all like, that's a big thing on Houston, man. They love to just let those big guys just kind of have their own space, and a lot of coaches really, really go away from that. And that was a little bit of a mistake on our part on projecting Looney so far ahead there. So something to keep in mind against the Houston team. Okay, let's go to the other side of this. As my God, man, the Thunder just and just to kind of couple this, so anybody who has friends, and hopefully you people listening aren't like, oh, there's no defense in the NBA. Like, if that's you like need to cancel all your plans on Saturday and like watch this game because the Rockets and the Thunder defend their asses off. So I mean, that was the story. Like, there were bodies everywhere. Casey Wallace flying around. Lou Dort just into Luka the whole game. I mean, SGA getting into passing lanes. J-Dub was really good on Kyrie. Yes, they left the corners open, but their on-ball defense was so good. They forced so many turnovers. OKC is just unfair. Like, I told one of my friend did a parlay, at which I tell him don't ever do that. He's like, "Oh, I bet Luka over 25, and it wasn't even close." Like, buddy, like don't ever bet ball handlers against OKC overs. So what the defense we got to start with, it's historically good. I talk about this all the time since 2015-16 when the NBA changed their hand checking rule, 3-second violation rule, other backcourt violation rule got a little bit different. They really try to add more offense with those rules. Since that happened, this half court defense is the best in the NBA. So how good is this OKC defense, and kind of why is it so good?
I mean, we could talk the rest of this podcast, I feel like, on just how incredible this OKC defense is. I mean, where do you even start? It's like anytime anyone from the Mavs was driving, you're almost like anxious because I mean everyone is just picking up anything, and then a kick out or a cross court pass, and their bodies flying to go get those. I mean, yeah, it's really incredible what they've done, and I kind of think back to that series, the playoff series from last season, and you just think Caruso and Hartenstein, like what they've added from that series, and it's just like, man, OKC just seems so loaded. Yeah, I just without even getting into how incredible Shea was, especially that first half, the shot making was really something. But yeah, Mavs just from the beginning just really couldn't have it, and they really needed like an exceptional Luka game, and it just wasn't there.
Yep. Again, he didn't, and it was really not him having a bad game. He did look pretty tired, but they were making him work.
Oh yeah.
And he didn't get into the paint that much. Didn't get to the line. Only 5 free throws for him. Yeah, that was really the story for me, was their defense. And I mean, they got good play on the Mavs side. I guess we'll just kind of put a bow on them pretty quick. Not too much to take away from them. But Najee Marshall had a 20 to 25 minute limit, placed 29, was awesome. led the team in scoring. Clay was good. They left Clay open. They really left those corners open. Kyrie hit a couple big ones in the corner. So that OKC thing, which we'll talk about from the Houston perspective there, but yeah, I mean, Clay and Marshall kind of like kept them in it. Omax Prosper hit like 2 big threes. I think he was like 1 of 8 from 3 or something going into this game. Hits 2 huge ones. So yeah, and he just kind of, and then Derek Lively too. Like he was really impactful. Hit the boards really well. Unfortunately, didn't score enough. We had it over. But anybody you want to just mention on just a shout out on the Mavs, and we'll talk more Thunder.
I would just point to Najee Marshall off the bench where he makes his
Mhm.
return to this Mavs illness that is still making its way through the team.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, but he comes out. We got the note before that he's going to be on minutes limit, but he was too good, so he plays 29 minutes off the bench. Ties laid Clay to be the leading scorer, but again, it was just an OKC too good game, and even getting these contributions, like you were saying, from these secondary guys, it just wasn't enough.
Yeah, and then just going back to the defense, Hartenstein's rim defense was incredible, just to add that. But the other note on the OKC stuff was they got up 53s, which obviously says a lot, but it's only like half of their volume from compared to their twos, 101 total shots. The part of the reason why they got so much up was like they didn't get to the line at all. They only had 7 free throws this whole game, 3 from non-SGA players there. So yeah, I don't think there's anything to it. I think that they left him open. I don't think that was really part of their strategy to kind of go that way. But hey, it was great. That the real one of the biggest plays of the game was the end of the third quarter. Alex Caruso diving on the floor, ball trickles out to Isaiah Joe, who hits a big shot. But I mean, this team just like they're so good, man. Like I don't even have to say it anymore. Like, they're clearly in obviously it's gonna be tougher for them to win it because the West is so much tougher than the East is, but they're just so good. J Dub's defense. J Dub's been like iffy offensively, but his defense has kind of been solid. And yeah, like just to go back to Caruso again, like the guy just is such a winning player, man. And he didn't like, he's never gonna like people who don't like love the NBA don't really realize how good this guy is. But anybody you want to mention on OKC to shout out?
Yeah, those two, like you're saying. I mean, and we're just talking about Caruso and Hartenstein. That was only their third game that
Yeah.
they played together this season. Like that's it. The OKC has been this good
Hmm.
and dominant, and they haven't even like really been together. I think is
Hmm.
what's crazy. But yeah, you're saying like you're talking about Joe and Caruso. Like once stars come out, these guards come in, and then they're everywhere, and they're like
Hmm.
you just get no rest from them. And we thought maybe Aaron Wiggins kind of they condensed a little bit, but like even
Hmm.
these back end guys, AJ Mitchell, Aaron Wiggins, they'll make impacts. So this team's really loaded, and we got to see it all on display in that game.
Yeah, and I didn't talk about SGA yet. Like, I mean, come
Oh
on, dude.
man,
Like
he's just
he's we talked about it on the hike yesterday that like Joker is so good, and Joker should win it. If I'm voting right now, I'm voting for Nikola Jokic. The guy's playing incredible, but the voters they don't want to vote for this guy again. So SGA I think is on. Like, I think again, Jokic is being a better player. I'm not saying otherwise, but the way people are going to want to vote, like I think SGA is the favorite. And man, like what a smash! Like I was so excited to get that. We had an S for those who aren't in our prop street. We had an SGA over, and I was like, yeah, this is like such a smash. So yeah, shout out to us there. One other note for you, and I'm throwing this at you cold. So Isaiah Hartenstein, if he doesn't miss more than 2 games, he's eligible for Defensive Player of the Year. He's like 150 to 1. Like I was thinking about I was thinking about that on the hike today. And I was like, I kind of want to fire at that. But do you think there's like any outside chance that like because this defense is so good? I talk about this all the time. Like when I bet on Marcus Smart when I won a ton of money, they had the number 1 defense for like a few week stretch. Like OKC's defense is so good that someone on this team might win it. Bigs usually win it, so I don't know. Yeah, am I kind of just like, oh, look at all the money I could win, kind of like wish casting it? But I don't know. Just OKC's defense is too good. That's kind of my whole point.
yeah, I get the angle there. It's just wanting to bet, defense player of the year, the best defense. Like it all makes sense. I guess my
Yeah.
one, if I got to go in there, is just when Chet comes back. I just don't think there'll
Yep.
be enough
But
minutes
does he come
really.
back
Where
though?
I gotta think so. I mean, I haven't
He's
heard
on
anything to
crutches. He was barely
suggest.
moving around there. Random note too. He
Sure,
gave like
sure.
the pregame speech for the guys before they went out there. But Chet's not going to be
Yeah.
back till like mid March.
Oh, mid. Well, if we're talking
I
mid
mean,
March,
he's
that's
not going to be
certainly
back till
fair.
he's All Star break for sure. I would say.
I mean, that would be but I haven't, of course, looked much, but I guess that would be my one, hole
Right.
to poke. But yeah, I mean, certainly that kind of realm of wanting to bet on this team for
Yeah.
and find a spot defensive player of the year certainly makes
Yeah.
sense.
For sure. So yeah, I mean, I got to do it. I got to fire it. It's too good. It's too good. So let's preview this game really quick. Again, these defenses are outrageously good, just absolutely flush with on-ball defense. With Amen, Dylan Brooks, Jabari on the one side. Tari Eason's been pretty good on ball. Was actually really good in a couple places we got switch was really good there. And then I mean, Dort, Kaysen, Caruso, even J-Dub, even SGA's gotten better there. I mean, this defense is so good. So, yeah, on top of that, and when you consider the fact that OKC's lead handler is so good and J-Dub, been efficient, but very capable. OKC's strengths, and they've split the season series 1-1 with both teams holding serve at home. We're both going to say OKC, but like, how, I guess the question is, how can Houston kind of like get over the hump here? Is it just like getting hot from three? Is it, because I think that's really what it is. Like they got to get hot from three, and I think that's what happened to them when they did beat them. And like if you're Imi Udoka, how are you beating this team?
I mean, yeah, it's going to come down to that because we saw it with what the Thunder were doing the Mavs, right? It's going to be incredibly difficult to get good shots up, and like the performance that Van Vliet and Jalen Green had against the Warriors,
Yep.
it's just not. They got to be better than that, And
Mm-hmm.
we always talk about on ball guys against OKC, and it's going to be a tough challenge for them, but they can't be as reliant on Şengün as they were
Mm-hmm.
last game. So it's really going to come down to can they make the threes and can they limit the turnovers too? So
Yep.
especially from those two guards, like I was saying, Van Vliet and Jalen Green, they got to get much bigger performances out of them.
Yeah, and the other thing too, they have to crush the glass. Even with
Hmm.
Hartenstein in there, OKC gets really killed down there. So, yeah, they kind of can't have it both ways. Like you got to play big because you got to get the boards, but like you can't run 1-5 pick and roll with Şengün because the Thunder are just too good at stopping that stuff. So you got to kind of mix up your offense. They don't really do that. Jalen Green is so heavy from a volume perspective as a pick and roll handler. He can't really play another way. So it's tough, man. Like I feel
Yeah.
pretty good that OKC is gonna cover this one. Do you have like a take on is it a blowout? And like how do you see the spread right now is 5, which I'm probably taking them to cover, man. Like I just believe in OKC so much.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I mean, I think the Rockets deep. We saw the OKC one. It was a blowout at home, but I
Mm-hmm.
mean, this Rockets team. I think it's just really hard to blow out this Rockets team
Yeah.
with the way they're playing defense. But yeah, if you had to give me a thing, I would lean right now OKC and would even take that -5. But I'm like you're saying, I'm just so excited for this game and the
Yeah.
top. I believe the Rockets are tied for second in the West now with Memphis. So to the top of the West, it's gonna be really fun.
Yeah, Memphis has been freaking crushing. They've been getting lucky. We'll talk
Yeah.
about that more in the content as I'm writing matchups a little bit. So let's go to the East. Let's start with the game last night. And man, the Knicks, the cup set of the quarterfinal as the Atlanta Hawks get really hot in third. Trey plays the whole third and crushes them. And then, of course, I mean, Trey Young doing the dice roll, says he doesn't want to be a villain before the game. And like he goes out there and taunts them. Guy says, take your ass home when he beats them on their home court earlier this year. So we got to start with Trey Young, and I'll say we talked about this a lot in the content the day of. The Knicks really get killed by on-ball handlers. They give up the most pick and roll handler points in the NBA. Trey got a season high 19 possessions out of pick and roll last night. He was actually pretty crappy on them. He was 0.77 per possession. But yeah, how do you think Trey handled this? Their defense was the headline to me. But I mean, we got to be kind of mainstream boys and talk about Trey Young with the dice roll and his really strong third quarter.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. First half, kind of slow. I mean, Hawks were kind of sluggish in general. It seemed got it together a
Mhm.
little bit more, and then yeah, that third quarter, he had that stretch, and he just kind of, I mean, the game really flipped from there, right? He really took it
Mhm.
over, and the Knicks just had no answers after that. So, they really needed him to come out strong in that third, and he did, and we saw the result as it did.
Yeah, and just so the headline here was a couple things. 22 offensive rebounds from the Hawks. Someone on Twitter pointed this out. That's the most a Tom Thibodeau team has given up as a Nick, which is, I mean, 22 is crazy high. And actually, they didn't crush on second chance points. They only got 14 to 12. So the second chance opportunities, they didn't really cash in on. And then a couple other random notes. I saw a lot of people, the Knicks were talking about, hey, we had open shots. They like kind of didn't. They had just 7 unguarded catch and shoot attempts. They average almost 12 there, and the Knicks and the Hawks actually out unguarded catch and shoot shot them They had 10 unguarded. So yeah, they did make those. They cashed in on those big time. The Knicks didn't. So they didn't get great looks, but when they did get them, they really missed a lot. So that the rebounding, and then we got to shout out Atlanta's defense. They've been really good. They've won 7 of their last 8. They're 9th in defense in this span. They're 5th in half court. Their rim defense has been great all season long. DeAndre Hunter's been very good defensively. I thought Jalen Johnson's been much better defensively as well. Clint Capella rebounded the ball great. I thought he protected the paint really well. Dyson Daniels, one of the best on-ball defenders in the NBA. Thought Ricochet was fine. Bogdan's playing better defensively than he was. He was just a target all the time. So I mean, their defense was legit, and we talked about OKC and Houston's defense. Atlanta's defense, we don't think of them as a good defensive team, but they've really shown up lately after getting absolutely obliterated from 3 prior to getting all these guys back and getting consistent minutes. So yeah, what do you see on Atlanta's defense overall that made them just holding the Knicks to 100, an elite offense to just 100 points? What do you see out of those guys?
I mean, it starts with Dyson Daniels, right? You were
Mhm.
talking about it before the game about his defense on Brunson the game before, and we saw it. He was matching Brunson,
Mhm.
and he was awesome. And we saw a lot of times with the Knicks when Brunson didn't have it, they were just struggling for offense in general. So, I mean, Dyson has just been so awesome from them,
Mhm.
from that trade. It really starts with them, and yeah, like you're saying, at the beginning of the season, we remember when they had the back-to-back losses to Washington, and now they're really rounding into form. They're finally healthy. They've got their rotation on lock, and I mean, DeAndre Hunter off the bench, he has just been so awesome for them.
Mhm.
And I don't want to say he's had a disappointing start to his career, but he's had more lukewarm. But maybe this is just who he is a 25 to 30 minute guy off the bench, and
Mhm.
he's going to give him good defense. He's scoring 20 plus every game. So yeah, there's a lot to be excited for this team right now. But yeah, the defense was awesome, and that rebounding, like you were saying, I mean, 3 guys with a double double.
Yeah, that's so crazy. So let's play the blame game on the Knicks here. Who do you want to blame first? And I should note too. So the schedule got them a little bit. Just to kind of point this out really quick, because they looked really tired in the third quarter. They ran out of gas in the fourth and couldn't really muster anything there. They missed open shots, tired legs, yada yada. Did the schedule makers screw them a bit because they just played Monday in Toronto, so international travel, which is something that if you're betting on spreads, international travel is worth points. Usually, that's something when I consider betting against the Raptors. Okay, they had international travel. That's something that I consider when I'm making my bets. Just so they had the international travel component. They played it pretty tight in Toronto. Meanwhile, the Hawks just got blown out on Sunday. They didn't play guys, and they look fresh. So I think the schedule makers kind of screwed the Knicks a little bit there. But yeah, so besides that, Cat was great. Certainly no blame from him. The fouls did hurt. I think that was kind of a big story. Although they were +1 in Jericho Sims minutes late in the fourth. But yeah, if you wanted to start the blame game for the Knicks and their poor performance down the stretch, especially in the third, 34-18 on your home floor is just unacceptable. So who's getting the blame first for the Knicks dropping this one?
I mean, I would just say as the team just not hitting the boards. I would I would say the blame game is just in the individual. And you said about the schedule, and yeah, we were talking too. It's kind of odd that the one
Mhm.
game on Monday, the Knicks were
Yeah.
part of the one game, which especially like you're saying international. So I'm sure it didn't help, but yeah, it really comes down to that third quarter and just their inability to score and stop Trey, and then just giving up on the boards, and the bench gave them really nothing. And I know the Knicks with Tibbs, it revolves around the top 5 and the starters, but I mean the bench was just nothing. And when Cat was in foul trouble and Precious was just getting killed on the boards, and then Tibbs, I think, just had enough. Says, okay, Sims, who was kind of falling out of favor with them, he goes, I just need someone who's going to get rebounds. So I think I wouldn't say anyone's particularly to blame. I mean, Brunson's rough offensively, but we talked
Mhm.
about the tough matchup. It's just they need to be better on the boards.
Yeah, that was really bad. So yeah, I mean, Mikal got torched, man, and that hurt his minutes.
And
He
yeah,
got torched so bad in the third quarter,
yeah.
and again, Trey going off in the third quarter. Who's guarding him, man? Mikal Bridges. So I would probably blame him first. He got his offense going a little bit. He missed some really easy shots. I mean, he had Trey Young guarding him. Why was
Yeah.
he standing in the corner so much, man? You have Trey Young on you. Go out there, set some screens, give him the ball a little bit. The guy clearly
Yeah.
doesn't have the confidence to go out there and really, really dominate a game when you should be targeting Trey Young. We've not. I've been doing content with Dink for so long, and every time we talk about the Hawks being a big game, we talk about targeting Trey Young, and they didn't do it enough. So there's that.
Yeah.
OG struggling from 3 again. He's been hot and cold. That's another layer to it. Josh Hart shot it great. He's been shooting the
Yeah,
ball
he was
really well
great.
this
Yeah.
year. So he
Yeah.
was good. But yeah, I think Mikal, I would start with him. Campaign got a lot of minutes from, like, we thought Campaign may barely play, and that was because Mikal just didn't have it from a defensive standpoint. So yeah, I mean, obviously the rebounding for sure, but like Cat got 19 rebounds, including
Yeah, he was
15.
yeah.
Yeah, so like he got 19 of their 49 rebounds, like one man. So, but yeah,
Yeah.
and then I got to go back to the Hawks. We got to shout out Jalen Johnson a little bit too. 15 rebounds from him. Yeah, I mean, the three guys had the boards rebounds, so four guys had a double double when you count Trey's assist one. So, how
Yeah.
good was Jalen Johnson? Real quick, I mean, just the passing has been so good. He's such a hub for them when Trey's not out there, and even when he is, like we talked about this all year, he's like fourth in touches. At least he was a week ago. I haven't checked in a bit. Just shout out Jalen Johnson, who again missed the last game for shoulder soreness, didn't have K tape on his shoulder, shot the ball pretty well for them. Didn't shoot it pretty well, I should say, but the impact, 41 minutes, and the activity was huge. So just shout out him. Anything you want to mention on Jalen?
Yeah, I mean, he's just doing what he's been doing for all season for them, right? I mean, yeah, like you're saying, 22 rebounds plus assists is just amazing. His handling role, you were saying, has just been awesome. He was great, 41 minutes. They needed all of it. And yeah, you're saying little struggles from the field, but he impacted the game in so many ways. Yeah, shout out Jalen, and I look forward to just continue seeing his growth. We saw it really start last season. He's continuing it on here, and it just keeps going more. And I just want to go on that Mikal point too earlier, like you were saying, on just the blame game. We saw, especially at the beginning of the game, he was really being aggressive and finding his shot.
Mm-hmm.
He hit a nice three, and then he just disappeared after that. Like, he had a nice run and then really just disappeared until he hit some garbage shots at the end too. But yeah, I just want to get on that. But yeah, shout out Jalen Johnson. He was awesome, and they really need that performance out of him.
Yeah, I played a decent bit of Mikal overs because I liked the matchup and I thought he would play more than I did, and didn't think I'd be sweating it that hard when he scored like the first three of the game, got another quick bucket, missed two bunnies. And I was like, okay, this may be tougher than I thought. But I digress. So let's talk about the Atlanta Hawks opponent in Vegas. That is the Milwaukee Bucks, as they kind of like squeaked out a game here. 7.5 point spread, and they win it by 5. Certainly the headlines here were Dame late. I think he scored the final 9 points from them. This guy's just so automatic from the line. That's really, really helpful there. Giannis got his 37, like we said all day, that Giannis is going to get his from a score. And then got to shout out Chris Middleton. You see 0 points on 0 of 2 shooting, and you say to yourself, oh man, Chris Middleton didn't do anything. No, he did do stuff. The 8 assists were really important. He really got Giannis going there. They had that little 2-man game that's been a staple for their offense when they make playoff runs, including their championship run. So yeah, that triple threat group of Middleton, playing still mid-20s, low-20s minutes most nights. Got Bobby Portis. I'll look up his shooting lately. It's freaking on fire. But yeah, what do you think about Giannis and Dame? Dame struggled for a good bit of this game. Tough matchup as well. But what do you see from the Bucks offensively that got him over the hump against a really good Magic defense?
Yeah, I mean, Dame and Giannis, really the bulk of the offense. And you're talking about Bobby Portis in that first half. I mean, there was a stretch there where I think just on himself, he was on a 10-0 run, just not missing. And he's needed this kind of stretch he's had lately, where we saw a game without Giannis, where he was just demoted to backup center because he's had a rough start to the season, but he really came alive, and that scoring off the bench was huge for them. And Middleton, yeah, you said it, didn't score, but he made a lot of winning plays off the bench, especially in that second half of the game. So he was awesome for them. But Dame and Giannis were just doing what they do. And like you're saying, Dame at the end there too, it was Dame time, and he did what he needed to do for them. So it was a nice win for the Bucks, although maybe a little closer than we all thought, because the Magic were fighting, man. The Magic were fighting.
Yeah, they were really good. And then to your point, the Bobby Portis run, they had Mo Wagner going off on the other end, and everyone was talking about the Wagner boys. But yeah, Bobby Portis last 2 games, 100.8 true shooting, just 102.4 effective field goal percentage. His free throw percentage is pulling him down, just nuclear. That we'll talk about that matchup in a second. But what about Middleton though? Like, not shooting but still passing to that degree as a pretty polished passer. What do you think that Middleton? Well, these teams, they just played the Hawks without them. Do you think Middleton kind of takes this offense, which has been sputtering at times? Do you think that their offense could kind of take it to another level where they're more of a consistent top 10ish, maybe top 6-7 inch offense?
I think so, and that's been one of the concerns, throughout the season for Milwaukee is just the depth part, where we really liked a lot of these offseason, but it just hasn't really worked out. I mean, Gary Trent, who's put it together lately, but we
Mhm.
saw at the beginning of the season, especially, he was struggling big time. So I think they found a really consistent piece in AJ Green off the bench. Andre Jackson's kind of, token startery, but I think as
Mhm.
Middleton gets ramped up, he goes away. But yeah, I think Middleton just adding that extra piece is going to be really helpful for them because the depth is really what they needed. But I would say my one concern is maybe Brook Lopez has looked.
Mhm.
I don't know if he's maybe taking a step back, but it doesn't look like he's having the same impact as we see on these past Milwaukee teams. But the reinforcement of Middleton is a huge help for them, and we got to see the impact he could make.
Yeah, I mean, Brooks defensively he's fine, but he has nothing offensively
Yeah.
anymore. But it's fine. Like you don't need to have the impact offensively. You've
Oh
got
yeah.
Dame,
Yeah.
Giannis, and Middleton. So yeah, we'll see his usage rate like probably get even worse there.
Mhm.
But and then just lastly, like Turian Prince, pretty minimal impact. He's not shooting at all anymore. Gary Trent's starting to shoot the ball more. It's like, do you just I talked about this on the content yesterday or 2 days ago. Like, do you just start Middleton with Gary Trent? That was the lineup we thought they were going to kind of have all along. I think that like we're almost there now.
I think it's trending towards that for sure. And we've seen Andre Jackson, who even when Middleton was out, was as a starter struggling to get to even 20 minutes. So I kind of think that's kind of where it ends. And then AJ Green and Bobby off the bench for some offensive firepower. But yeah, you can see this team. It's slowly really starting to round into form after a really really rough beginning of the season for them.
Yeah, and then shouts for the Magic. Jalen Suggs,
Hmm.
my flag plant for the day, goes for a career high 32. He was marvelous down the stretch with a shooting thumb injury, which he suffered before in his earlier career. Goga Batadze, man, like how do you like ever take this guy out of the starting lineup, man? The guy's elite rim protection. Shout out to Chris Leet, that's his guy. Those two guys just kept them in this game. Anthony Black was great. Oh, Cole Anthony was dreadful. He needed to come out of this game way, way sooner there. But yeah, if you want to add to Goga and Suggs, should mention, I'm sure you guys listening know, Franz Wagner is going to miss multiple weeks with the oblique. We should get Powell back pretty soon. We're kind of on watch for that there. But anybody want to shout out on Orlando with, again, they beat the Suns with this group. They, played the Bucks pretty tough, despite missing,
Hmm.
their two best offensive players.
Yeah, Suggs and Goga. I mean, both who were suffered injuries in that game too, and just kept fighting on and just really keeping the magic alive in that. And especially in the second half, it felt like every time Bucks were pulling away, it's like Jalen Suggs was there, doing something, making things happen. Anthony Black was good off the bench for them, giving good minutes. Mo, especially in that first half when he was going back and forth with Bobby. But you said, I mean, Cole Anthony off the bench. They just especially with this group, like without Franz and Paolo, they just need somebody to soak up usage. And Cole Anthony is one of those guys that can be that for them. But he was just terrible and didn't have it. And maybe they kept him in too long, but they were just searching for offense, and he couldn't give
Mhm.
it to them. So nice effort from the Magic, but we saw. I think what some of our concerns are with this group is I just not sure there's a ton of offense where even
Yeah.
Jalen Suggs career high and it's not enough. So we'll see. But like you said, hopefully Paolo back soon for them and we can see them in somewhat peak form and while waiting for Franz still.
Yeah. All right, so let's preview the Hawks and the Bucks. As we noted, earlier this month, the Hawks did beat them 119-104. Should note the Bucks were on a back-to-back after playing a very, very big cup game, which they did blow out the Pistons. So the minutes weren't too elevated, but back-to-back after a very, very intense game. That schedule really helped the Hawks there. But that said, again, like the Hawks defense is legit, man. Like they're not going to be freaking top 10, but go back in time 3 weeks ago, and I was talking about the Hawks being like the best matchup for shooters because they had such high 3-point volume allowed. We're giving up the most catch and shoot points in the NBA. But yeah, do you think that the Bucks, now that they don't have a rest disadvantage, they have a rest advantage now? They get an extra day. So yeah, handicap this matchup. Obviously, I mentioned the rim defense for Giannis. How do you handle Giannis? Do you put Jalen Johnson on him? Do you start DeAndre Hunter over Zach Ricochet just to kind of give Hunter and guard Giannis? Something that's on the table for me. But yeah, stock up how the Bucks will look to bounce back against the Hawks here from their offensive perspective. We talked about Middleton coming back as well, who didn't play in this previous game I'm talking about.
Yeah, and like Orlando, Jonathan Isaac was out, but they've had the
Yep.
size to at least make Giannis work. And I think, look, you can't stop Giannis, but I thought
Mm-hmm.
what they were trying to do as far as just keeping a primary on him and having everyone else kind
Mm-hmm.
of come around and swipe at him and everything, just make him work more. I think is kind of the blueprint. But it's going to be a struggle. And then I think that they're going to go with the same starting lineup, where Risa Shea is, he's starting, but it's kind of 50-50 to even get to 20 minutes. And
Mhm.
yeah, and they're just gonna Dyson is gonna get the Dame assignment, and look, if he can do what he did
Yep.
against Brunson too, which I think he'll have to, for the Hawks to have a chance. But yeah, this is gonna be a really good game. I'm excited for it, and the Hawks are legit, especially when they've got this entire group healthy. They know who they are, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, for sure. And should note too, Trey was kind of bad in this game. And this is a spot where they should be pretty drop heavy. They don't play as deep a drop, the Bucks, as they used to. So it's not like a smash. But they're gonna play drop. So Trey, if he shoots the ball really well, that's kind of the key. So I think him on top of Jalen Johnson having a big impact offensively and what I think is probably defensively. I talked about DeAndre Hunter possibly starting. That's probably not going to happen. That said, I still expect DeAndre Hunter to pick up most of that assignment. Hunter's been really good defensively. The stats don't show it. He's like all scoring and nothing else. But his mobility looks a lot better. Obviously, his offense and his shot is like the headline. He's making shots at an outrageous clip right now. But they've got artillery. I mentioned the rim defense. They're not giving up 3-point shooting. The Bucks can get hot from three at times because Giannis just sucks in the defense and they can really cook there. But to that point, though, like Andre Jackson, we talked about how he's kind of iffy. Gary Trent not defending at the same level as he was a few years ago. Never really was a great defender. So they've got advantage. Like the Hawks, like almost have more advantages, but the Bucks just have Giannis Antetokounmpo and Damian Lillard. So yeah, I think that this game's going to be pretty close. It's one I don't want to bet. I'm like really buying the way the Hawks are playing right now. They've got a really solid 8, man. Okongwu, one of the best backup bigs in the NBA. Bogdan, Hunter, that's really, really good 8-man as well. So yeah, I'm not betting this, but do you want to do you have a pick here? It sounds like you're picking Bucks.
Yeah, I would give a slight lean to the Bucks. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
sure I would feel confident enough to bet it, but I still
Yeah.
think at the top with Giannis and Dame, it'll just be enough. But I mean,
Yeah.
the Hawks have made a great case for why they can win this game, so I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, their depth is so much better than
So
the
much
Bucks.
better.
But
Yeah.
I mean, as great as Trey is, like Trey is not anywhere close to the caliber of player that Giannis is. As great as Jalen Johnson is, he's not as great anywhere near as Damian Lillard is. So like the tippy top part is just it's a classic case of the stars versus a well-rounded team there. So yeah, we've got a team that has our finals prediction. I'm with you. I'm picking the Bucks. So we've got the Bucks and the Thunder as our prediction here. We have a team that's super duper top heavy in the Bucks, and we have a team that's got the tippy top part in OKC. They got SGA, the MVP front runner ish. They've got J Dub, who's is he better than Dame? Probably not, but like pretty close. And they've got all that defense. They've got the depth. I mean, we're both picking OKC, and like the line would probably be like it'd probably be 5 again. Like I think it'd be pretty similar. Like they're going to be pretty favored. So do you think how confident? Basically, the question is like how confident are you that OKC is taking home the cup?
I'm pretty confident. I
Okay.
would be surprised if they didn't. I'll just say that. I mean, the way they're rolling with this group, it's really hard to see someone a team putting a full enough together game to beat them, because you just got to be on it on all facets, and OKC is just not going to let up. So yeah, I feel pretty confident in picking OKC to come home with the cup.
So OKC's and these bets have been really bad because you need so much things to happen in a row. You need 3 wins to happen in a row. So OKC is plus 115 on FanDuel to win the cup. SGA, how does that make sense? SGA is plus 110 to be the tournament, and so SGA is like literally a worse odds than betting OKC to win it. That's crazy. So would you lay that? Would you lay 115 for OKC to win 2 games in a row? It's kind of a bad bet, to
Uh,
parlay. Like the parlay of that probably isn't 115, but like OKC is that good that like who cares? It's plus 15,
yeah.
whatever. Just bet more, and your winnings are the same.
Yeah, I don't know if I will, but I'll just say, but betting on OKC has been a very profitable
Yeah,
venture to this point. So yeah, any OKC bet is treating you well.
yeah,
I don't think I'll lay the plus 115 for them to win the cup, but I mean, certainly, I think in this next game, they'll have my bet.
yeah. You could just win it twice. You're gonna get limited on that bet anyways. Just bet them to win by 5 both times. And hey, if he wins both, you get 2 of your minus 110s. It's better, which we think is going to happen. Just a random aside. So OKC, assuming they do play the Cup final on Tuesday, hey, you win the cup. We think they're going to win. You're going to party it up in Vegas. They get a really interesting Florida back-to-back on Thursday, Friday. So they would, like, if they win, or even if they don't win on on Tuesday, they'd have to like fly out of Vegas on Wednesday to play in Orlando on a TNT game, and then go to Miami after that. Like, that's pretty nasty work by the NBA schedule makers. They'll definitely sit some people. We'll talk more about that if we get there. So, anything else that you wanted to shout out in the cup? How much are you enjoying the cup? I love it, man. I just love it so much. I've got the freaking background. How
Yeah,
much are you enjoying the cup experience?
it's been great. I mean, you think about just games in December to be so communal in a way
Mm-hmm.
where you most days in the regular season it's the league pass frenzy and we're all talking
Mm-hmm.
about this game, that game, but just to have these two games each day, everyone's focusing on the same one. It's a lot of fun. So I know
Yeah.
everyone's got their own opinion on cups, but I've really enjoyed the last 2 days of these games, and I'm looking forward to seeing the rest of it play out.
Yeah, it's been really, really great. We get to really lock in. We've done pretty well with our projections. Most of the takes on the show from Dink and I have been great. So, yeah, for those of you guys who are listening on the free side, we appreciate you guys. If you're on YouTube or on iTunes, Spotify, whatever, make sure you hit us with the 5-star, like us, subscribe us, all that good stuff. But hey, we obviously, got to pay some bills. So, for those of you who aren't subscribed to our props package, check us out on our site at establishedrun.com/NBA. Hit the subscribe tab. Yeah, we're doing really well on the prop streets. Almost at 60. We're almost at 68 units here on the season, kind of cruising along. Just a ton of work that we put in. You, me, Dink, the whole team. We got Mark Dankenbring from the NFL side. We're really loaded. Shout out to everyone on the whole team. We're really excited. So check us out, Established Run NBA. We've got some time. Hey, still got like almost 70% of the season left here. So excited to finish here. Appreciate you guys. Catch you guys next time.